Yeah, I'm just curious, always wondering what the girls think of me. You know how it is. I mean, that's the teenage. You know, we're still those kids sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious, but before, obviously now we're just meeting as peers, really. So before we dive into it, I just want to name how I'm holding this conversation, because what I've been doing is I've been having open-ended conversations that I call wealth beyond money talk. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like not like an interview, not coaching, and there's no agenda. It's just, getting on Zoom and holding a space where we can explore things like leadership, power, money, purpose, integration, stuff that we're into, but look
Mm-hmm.
at it from the inside without trying to land anywhere specific. So, talk about, making content. See, you have, the way I look at it is like, out there, you have content creators and then people who create content. Content creators is more performance. So I like to go about creating content, like just having conversations, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, so as you already know, I record everything. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to have the wealth beyond money talk today. And when we're done, I'll can send it to you. And then obviously with all the things you're doing, it'd be, if you want to use it for content, make reels out, whatever you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's, if that works for you, then we'll just let this be one of those conversations and see where the conversation wants to go.
Okay.
All right, cool, cool. So before we even get into that, I always like to make sure that all elephants, even the baby elephants, are outside the room before we go any deeper. So, just both of us coming through the same lineage, training lineage, and separating the teachers from the teachers. I always really hold a lot of respect for what that structure did give me. I mean, look at us now.
Mm-hmm.
So that structure did exactly what it was designed to do. I mean, mahalo ke cool for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, I've noticed some people eventually grow through a container as opposed to grow within it. It's kind of like passing through.
Mm-hmm.
And, not because anything was wrong, but because the path has changed for the individual. So it's kind of like free agency in sports. Sometimes you have to leave the locker room that you've grown attached to because it's time to elevate your career overall. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, as we have this conversation, if we reference the ballroom or that world at all today, just not, I'm never interested in critiquing or relitigating anything. I'm really, it's more about a contrast of where we're from versus where we are, where we're going. And just notice how the leadership, authority, self trust can evolve once you leave that locker room, once the structure has already done its job and we
Mm-hmm.
graduated from it. So always doing everything, trying to, I don't like the word try very much, but my intention is to keep things Hawaiian, keep it
Mm-hmm.
Hawaiian. That means rooted in respect, discernment, forward movement, and no judgment of anybody, if that makes sense.
It does,
So,
yes. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mentioned the word mahu. I think I mentioned that last week, mahu.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we're sitting here now, it just feels like it's one of those moments, where obviously we graduated, something completed. And we also know energy can't be created or destroyed, only transmuted between being, doing, having. So, you know, where you and me are actually at right now, all of the old roles, Haumana, practitioner, coach, trainer, neither one of us are any of those in this conversation. We're just having a conversation. So it's like, as we talk, going into this wealth beyond money talk, it's not, we're not fixing the world's problems or really integrating anything. It's just, as we go deeper, we just notice what's already true and see what wants to be born. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, one of the, I guess the first question I have is, just thinking about how long we've known each other. You know, from we went to practitioner training around the same time, master prac trainers training Huna,
Mm-hmm.
and now we've come out the other side of that. We grew through that container. I'm curious, like from your perspective, how did you experience my evolution over that time? Not as just a student in the room, but considering that you've been able to watch from a teacher's seat as well. And so I'm just curious, you're 126 on my evolution.
Um, from my perspective, it's been huge. It's been like completely transformational. Um, in the beginning, and again, this was just perception. In the beginning, it seemed like there was a lot of like anger within you, and there was your presence was more of a um you like the dog analogy. So your
Mhm.
presence was more of like an aggressive bulldog, maybe, just kind of like um I'm here, right?
Mhm.
And over the years, it's just Malie, now it's I'm trying to think of another dog. Now it's one of those dogs that are and I'm going to say this a couple different ways, but the dogs that like the human can have the dog not on a leash, and the dog just stays exactly where the human wants them to. If the human
Mhm.
says, sit, the dog stays there, and any kind of commotion could be going on around him, and the dog just stays. And that's kind of like your presence now. And the reason why said I'm going to say it a couple different ways is because it's not that you are it's not someone else is controlling you, it's
Mhm.
you are controlling you. It's you are the one who, because in the human dog analogy breaks down a little bit in the circumstance, because in the human to dog, it's, well, this human is saying, sit, be calm, stay, do these different things. For you, though, it's you have found that within yourself. So whenever you enter a room now, others can count on you to just be present, be
Mhm.
there. And you come with this calm yet still very powerful energy, because your energy was extremely powerful before, but it was like chaotic and crazy.
Mhm.
And now it's just like smoothed out to where I think that's the reason why in our last call you said a lot of the females, the feminine, are coming to you for advice or answers, because you do hold this very strong masculine. And previously, I might have almost said some women, not all, but some women who are maybe like more insecure within them own what they're in their own selves might have been like see you as too much, or as oh, he's probably that boyfriend who abuses his girlfriend or whatever.
Mhm.
Now it's that whole piece of you has shifted into, you still retain that very masculine powerful energy, but now it's more, people come to you because they're like, you have something that I want, you have something that I need. um
Mhm.
so yeah, just a complete, it's like you are still there, that masculine strength that you've always had is still there, but it's just done a shift to where now it's power without even having to have power.
Mhm. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, again, it's like when, for all of us, we're all on the front line, the line of scrimmage of our life. So, and then how it is, especially like watching your kids grow up, you see their evolution.
Hmm.
And I was just curious, getting somebody's perspective who's, been there in my movie this whole time.
Hmm.
So and so like you mentioned earlier, a couple weeks ago, you said something that, I have real mana, and
Hmm.
I obviously take that as a compliment. I'm just, before we did the work together one on one, what were you actually noticing that I wasn't seeing from line of scrimmage when you say real mana?
Um, there's a genuineness about you. So, and now I would also add gentleness. So there's a genuineness and the gentleness about you.
Mhm.
Um, that a lot of people, especially I would say, not in all cases, but I would say more so males sometimes can struggle with because sometimes, like I said, their power is so strong that even if they're not, sometimes people can see them as like aggressive or domineering.
Mhm.
And now it's like you've combined that with also a gentleness.
Mhm.
And there's strength within you that, I mean, you've done the work, you've done so much work. And
Mhm.
so I think whenever people go through and they're just constantly working on themselves, and you use the term Mino.
Mhm.
And so it's not just that you're working on yourself, because some people they go in and they do the work and they release the baggage, or they shift their mindset to where they don't have their limiting beliefs or whatever it is that they're doing. But you take it that one step further, which is not only do you do all of that internal work on you, but then you also live it. So you start living the teachings, you practice, you do huna games, you do these different
Mhm.
things that
Mhm.
aren't just basic. So when I say like you have real mana, it's you're cultivating something within you. So some people they do the release work, but there's not as much cultivation within you. You do your work, but then you cultivate something new. You cultivate something more powerful. So each time you're doing the work on you, and I wouldn't even base it like per training, because there are some times when, I haven't seen you for 6 months or so, and then all of a sudden I see you and it's like, oh, what has he been doing while he's been gone?
Mhm.
Because, like I said, a lot of people that come to the training, they do the work where they're there and they go home and they do whatever it is they do when they're at home.
Mhm.
It just doesn't seem like they're taking that next step, the whole four requisites of change thing.
Right. Right.
It's they do the release work, but then what? And from what I've seen from you, you always take it that next step further. And when people do that, they end up having that true, authentic mana, which there's just a difference. There's a difference you can feel in someone who is practicing and someone who just comes every 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I noticed, and because of what the role that you've played in personal development company and
Mm-hmm.
understanding the industry, there's something that I noticed the more trainings I've done, the deeper I go into this, that I don't think most people are aware of, and it comes up from a lot of people from that we know coming to me and asking these questions and just noticing patterns. That's what we do. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I notice patterns. I guess I'm just me. I can't really compare how anyone else does it, but to me, I start to notice something. And in the personal development industry, this is pretty much what I've seen. You come into these trainings and those first levels, like we look at prac training, master prac training, you have to give up your authority to get anything out of this because you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what you don't. I don't know shit. So it
Yeah.
don't matter if I'm an MD or how many letters I have after my name. It doesn't matter. I don't know what they're teaching, so I got to submit authority from the
Mm-hmm.
door. And to me, when I think back to like level one of Huna, when essentially that was the instruction that the end gave at level one, and I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to get the most out of this, so I did that. Well, what happens is as we go, you get into the more advanced trainings, even one-on-one work with the teachers and whatnot. And what ends up happening is you become more open, you become more aware,
Mm-hmm.
and you have more insight. You learn different to look at things through different lenses, whether it be astrology or through ancient wisdom or through archetypes. And so you've got all this new language and you're able to bring in a lot more information,
Mm-hmm.
which then leads to a lot more questions and a lot more meaning making because I have new ways to label these experiences. And then what happens is I get to a point where, because I'm aware of some new issue that I have, and I
Mm-hmm.
start to feel that discomfort again. And so, since I got so much relief the last time I did release work at the training, I got so much help from the information. I go back to the training
Mm-hmm.
and I go in there, I get released, and I feel relief. But now I'm more open, more information, more meaning making, more
Yes.
questions. I got to go back.
Mm-hmm.
This is to me, this is the way I looked at it. And this was the presupposition from day one for me is the further I go in these trainings, the less I should need these teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was and that belief to me, I think made a difference in how I show up because it's like, okay, this is an advanced training, but if I completed training A, B, C, and D, then in my mind, I'm pretty advanced.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this belief that I need somebody else to tell me when it's like, no, you told me everything I need to know at the first training, the second training, and I'm so open now
Mm-hmm.
that I should be able to utilize everything I learned to figure it out for myself. And what I've found is just a lot of in personal development, you end up in this loop. The more you go into it, the more you want to know. But it's like what I learned, especially having worked with NLP for years,
Mm-hmm.
is the way the prac training is set up, the 4 day, pretty much everything there is to know about NLP was taught in days 1 and 2. Pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
Days 3 and 4 are the applications of what you learn on day 1 and 2. And then really start to get into playing games with it at the master prac level. Now we start to really cook with it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
quantum linguistics and whatnot. And so to me, anything else was just a bonus. Like it's like, cool, you already taught me everything I need to know. So I'm here teaching myself, and that was kind of my attitude about it. And so the reason why that pattern is significant to me is with this next chapter going into and being a personal development company, doing retreats,
Mm-hmm.
doing things like this, and I personally just don't want to create that loop. I want people to be able to leave the nest and not need to
Mm-hmm.
come back. But it's just it's the way the industry set up. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking to another one of our classmates, and basically she said it's like, okay, so as long as I believe that they know something that I don't, then I'll always come back.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I do know everything? And that's a question most people never ask themselves.
Yep.
What if I do know everything? And then all of a sudden, now I'm not coming back because I need the teacher to figure it out. I'm coming back because I resonate with this and I want to be in this environment and I want to continue to open up more so that I can have more that I can figure out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what these wealth beyond money talks do. I don't know if I'm making sense, but to me, it's that loop. I as a teacher, as a teacher, as a trainer, I don't want to create that dependency personally. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, so it does make a lot of sense, and I agree as well. So there's a certain um like you said, when you come in for prac, even if you go straight from prac to master prac, at that level, there's still within most people, unless they've taken other trainings or they've done other stuff, and most people at that level, there's still such an like unsureness to themselves. They're
Mhm.
still like they don't even know what questions to even ask. They're and I'm there's always outliers, and like I said, there's always other people who have come in doing other stuff. From what I've seen, from the most part, though, most practitioner students to master prac, if it, like I said, if they go directly that way, most of them are still very much searching. They're still really looking outside themselves, and in a way to where, like I said, they don't even know what questions to ask. They don't even know what they don't know. And then, yes, at a certain point, there is this shift. Like if they continue to go on, maybe, and like I said, whatever training they go to, maybe they go to DiMartini or Dispenza or something, and they come back, maybe it's multiple levels of Huna, whatever it is for them. And again, it also goes back to, well, what are they doing on their own? So some people, they're creating their own loop. So it's not the company or anything like that that's creating the
Right,
loop. Some people create their own loop.
right,
Now, for those who are kind of stuck in the company's loop, there's a point where as a trainer, you can kind of say like, hey, you've graduated, like you're done, like don't come back.
hmm
Um, and I think the companies, they're designed to make money.
right,
Yes, sure, there's a piece that cares about the world and other people and stuff. And then there's also just the bottom line, they got to feed themselves and their employees and stuff like that. So
mm,
of course, the company's always trying to do more trainings and create more stuff so that people keep coming and keep coming. And oh, now there's what is the new thing? The values training, right? So now there's this new thing and you guys don't know about it, so come, come, come.
hmm
And so I get that perspective. I mean, I've lived that perspective. And from what you're saying, there are some Huna students where I do kind of want it to just be like, you've been doing this longer than me. You're older than me. Wake up. Like
yeah,
so there's times where it's just a little frustrating.
yeah. I mean, what it is to me is this: is when you first come into any, it don't matter, which company, you don't know anything. You've got to
Hmm.
leave your authority at the door.
Hmm.
But to me, the further deeper I go into it, the more I need to regain my own authority.
Hmm.
And but some people never pick their authority back up. And it's
Mm-mm.
like that to me, that's an important teaching that I want to be able to give. It's like, listen, you are the boss. You're the boss. When you pay for a coach, you pay for a trainer. They're hired help. And I use that term, deliberately to
Hmm.
illustrate that you're the boss. You're the boss of
Hmm.
you. But a lot of times we end up giving, the authority to people outside. It may not even be somebody you know. Some people do it with somebody they're following on Instagram. They give them the
Hmm.
authority, and it's like the to me the definition of empowerment is maintaining your authority. At least using the analogy, I need to at least be the authority over my dog. At
Exactly.
least that.
Hmm.
And so where a lot of times, you know, people go into these containers, they look for the type of help that we provide, and they submit their authority. I don't want to be the authority in anyone's life. I'm
Hmm.
cool. I'm cool being a co-creator. I'm cool being the hired help in that way. I don't, at the end of the day, that's why I always say, I think as a coach, it's important to give advice and not orders,
Hmm.
because they're the boss. Shoot, I'm just the hand of the king. You're the king, and that's really it. But it's funny because you've already designed and run like Hawaiian retreats with our Ohana, Kumu
Hmm.
Darcy, Palava Morales. So big shout out in Aloha to Darcy and La'akea Healing Center in Honolulu. Now, you've been recruited to design retreats rooted in genuine Hawaiian protocol,
Hmm.
in a real relationship with the Aina. And now you're being approached by Kanaka, Native Hawaiians, and others to think at a higher level, like even designing these experiences for billionaires. So when you zoom out, how do you think about sequencing that work? Like starting with what's grounded and proven, and then moving into these more rare and discrete containers, working with people at that level. I mean, you're the one being recruited to do this, so I'm curious of your expert insight.
So a lot of it really depends on which direction you want to go. And that's kind of in discovery mode at the moment because there's two different ways you can go. So you can go bottom up or you can go top down. So creating a retreat for billionaires, for example, you're going top down. So you're not doing the $97, hey, come do my Zoom call kind of thing. You're not doing the
Mm-hmm.
mass marketing. Instead, for something like that, you're marketing directly to them. Then they come to your training, they see what a difference you make and how their lives are changed and so on. And then from there, you have different choices. So once they experience you, of course, they're going to want more. So when they experience you, you can either like continue to work with them, or now you can start designing stuff for their companies. And you can do that in a couple of different ways, which is what's being explored right now. So you can either go into their companies and do like corporate training specifically for their company, go into their company, look at their structure, see where there's key pieces that aren't aligning within the company. Or you can also say, hey, here are my trainings. You can't attend these. We know you can't attend these. If you walk into the room, people are going to be like, oh my God, it's so and so. And no one's going to be able to concentrate, and you're just going to get bombarded all the time.
Mm-hmm.
However, your employees, they can come and attend. And so then you do your own trainings or retreats for their employees. So that's like one particular structure. The other structure is to go like prac level style. So your basic weekend or intro or 4 day trainings from there. And then you build your way up, similar to what EI's model is.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing is you can do that simultaneously. So you can start here for certain people and start here for others, and then they go like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the stuff that's been going on in my mind that I'm thinking about, that I'm designing and implementing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's clear that you have experience in sequencing these things.
mhm.
So when you talk about, the work you've been doing with Darcy and what you guys have been talking about, what does that reveal about the kind of Hawaiian retreat architect that Sabrina's becoming?
Mm, from which perspective? From like me personally, or from like company wise or anything like that?
No, from you,
Okay.
you personally. So talk to me about how you're evolving as a retreat architect.
So th I guess there's those couple of pieces, plus there's other people around the island who are saying like, hey, I want to do a retreat, what does this look like? That kind of thing. And so there's I guess another piece to that of interviewing other people and seeing where they're at, what they're capable of, what they can bring in or not. Um, and so there's another piece to that, which those would be more like one-offs. So those would be
Mhm.
more like, hey, I'm doing a retreat with a couple of other people, and maybe I'm just gonna randomly name something. Let's just say I'm doing a meditation retreat. So I've got a couple people who are also teaching maybe a different style of meditation or something. So bring them in. We do this one retreat. That style might not evolve into anything. That would be more of like a practice. How well do we work together? And if we do, then maybe building something with that. The thing is that when you're building something like that, you have to have someone if you're going to work with other people, you have to have someone that you trust, someone that you know where they're going. So as an example for with Darcy and I, we haven't known each other like you and I have known each other. We haven't known each other for very long. And Darcy is also doing stuff with her husband as well with Hilom, which is the Filipino huna, so to say. And so with her and I, it's like still we're still very much in the building process of just us, of just not company wise, but just our friendship and our trust within each other. Because if we do move forward with these different, up down type plans, it would be a lot more than just doing a couple of retreats together. It would grow to be something a lot more. So part of it is also with something like that is also kind of getting to know the other person's energy, what their skills are, what they can bring to the table versus what you're bringing to the table, and do they match?
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you're doing a couple of like retreats together, there's a difference between, oh, she's going to hire me to go do her like one of her retreats versus um okay, we're actually going to have a business together and we're going to build a whole training sequence, that kind of thing. So right now for me personally, it's finding, do I want to just like work with her on some like building a couple of things, or do I want to mm, build more of a company with her?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's in that discovery process of the at the moment. Nothing is solidified in that area just simply because right now I'm perfectly comfortable just doing one-off retreats with her. As far as building a company, I have to get to know her more just because there are certain things that I've noticed with her. And uh, this happens, it's not just her, it's a lot of people. Um, they have a lot of ideas. They're constantly generating, oh, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And sometimes there's not like a structure. And so, yes, you can have this, highly successful training and you can continue to do that, or you can create something with foundation and something solid and go in that direction versus, well, maybe I want to do this, maybe I want to do that, maybe I want to do that. So right now, I'm still waiting a little bit with her to see if it's more the direction of let's build something together versus the direction of, okay, well, you can hire me to do this particular retreat or to design this particular thing for you, and we do this, and then we go our separate ways and then we come back and stuff like that. So at the moment, it's me figuring out her energy and what level she wants to play at.
All right.
Because she's
So,
still very new to this whole retreat thing.
yeah, she got that lineage though, so
Yes.
she's not new to helping people elevate. She's not new
No.
to helping people heal, and so that's what that's what makes Darcy Darcy.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that said, it's like boom, thinking about you got your avatar set, your aim is set. So obviously it's TBD as to what that relationship turns into. But
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about what your ideal for Sabrina is. Darcy, no Darcy. What's your vision of how you would do it? Because you clearly have this flexibility. Be you could do it any way. You're like a
Mm-hmm.
chef. Like I can cook any damn thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what would you do since you if you could create a scenario long term
Mm-hmm.
doing the retreats the way you know how to do and that you would like to do. What does that look like for Sabrina?
Kind of what I was just saying. I would prefer to do the top down and bottom up, simultaneously. So working with people who because I've also had I've had students come to a training and say, "Hey, I I have friends that they want this, but they can't come to this kind of thing. And this was maybe a couple years ago now, year and a half, somewhere in there, where I've heard this and I'm like, and it got me kind of thinking. And I'm like, that's true. People who they're just too famous or whatever it is, like, yeah, they can't walk into a training room. They can't go and have these experiences. And so I'm like, it got me in my head of like, what must it be like for them? What must it be like to and actually last night, I was one of my growing friendships is with a musician, and he comes to to Hawaii to do like a little tour kind of thing. So he comes for maybe a week or two every so often. And so he kind of goes around the island doing different shows. And he's actually played here where I'm at my house. And last night he was at like a music, like a record music store, kind of bar slash cat. You know how it is in Hawaii. It's
Mhm.
kind
Right.
of one
Yeah.
of those little
Yeah.
places. And last night he was there playing. So he's like, "Hey, I want you to come see me." So I'm like, "Come." And we're talking and stuff. And one of the people that he comes here with is Barbara, I'm forgetting her last name. She's a very famous actress. She's in her 70s now, but she was like like the movie Beaches. So I don't know if you've seen that. So,
Yeah.
so older.
I know the actor's face. I can't remember her last name, but
Yeah, so like older
Bar
movie.
is
She
it
was
Barbara Hershey?
yes, 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 thank you. I was like, it starts with
Yeah,
that H.
gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah.
her. So she was there last night. And, you know, now that she's a little bit older, not everyone recognizes her anymore. So she's
Right.
having like a little bit of that relief. But at the same time, it was very interesting because with her, it's not like who would be a famous female like Angelina Jolie. Like if she walks into the room, you know who it is, right? With
Yeah.
Barbara, when she walks into the room, it's like, is that somebody she looks famous. Like who is that kind of thing? And so she's just now kind of experiencing the almost, she can almost walk into a room,
Mhm.
but instead of the immediate, oh my gosh, it's this person, now it's the I think that's, is it? And so now there's like the, hey, is that blah, blah,
Mhm.
And so even just last night, I was in that energy of, wow, they really just can't have normal lives.
Mhm.
However, they're sometimes the most fucked up people.
Oh,
There's
and,
sometimes.
and some of the things that messed them up is why they're so famous. Is literally what drove them
Hmm.
to success. And it's like, especially when you think of somebody like her who's, had her career and has had a lot of success and got all the way to this point. The question that, we we know that to ask, that most they may not even know to ask this to themselves, is like, what have I been carrying that I don't need to carry anymore?
Hmm.
And so, really creating a space for that. So like, for me, with what we're putting together with Wealth Beyond Money retreats, it's really creating a space, to guide high performing people back to themselves, drop the weight
Hmm.
that they've been carrying and really realign with who they are at their core, so that wherever they're at, if they're going into retirement or just changing directions, they can move forward with clarity and confidence. And, again, if you're coming into a place and you have that notoriety, or, to me, you look at somebody like Barbara Hershey. I don't only, all I know about her is her work. And
Hmm.
but the thing is, when she steps into a room, people are gonna, it's, even if they don't know what they're looking at, it's her energy.
Hmm.
It's like, it's, what I call modern day elite. She's got elite energy. She's gonna walk
Hmm.
in, this is somebody. I don't know the story, but I know this is somebody. And so, all of that, people whispering and wondering and staring and, making it awkward. you know what I see is, like, with Well Beyond Money retreats, is creating a place that feels calm, steady, and clean. So, like, you know, they can talk and people actually listening to them, not telling some story in their head about what the guy, I'm nervous, geeking out, starstruck, but
Mm-hmm.
they, we're somebody of that level of prestige, if you will, or notoriety, can actually be seen for who they really are, not some role that they play. And so it's like creating an environment where our presence gives people room to breathe and tell the truth without feeling pressure. There's no performance.
Mm-hmm.
So they can naturally relax and think clearly. And so, that's, the vision I have, is to create that type of environment, because I know how it is, just from being professional athlete, and you can't even go to Cheesecake Factory
Mm-hmm.
without people, wanting, coming up to talk to you. I've even had situations like, I remember I was in college, and I played with Drew Brees for 4 years at Purdue. So Drew Brees, one of the most famous football players out there, and we were in college, like sophomores in college, but he was already famous. I mean, he was a star, so he was already
Mm.
famous. And we're sitting there in the restaurant eating lunch between class or something. This lady just comes and pushes her way in the booth to sit next to him. It's like, oh my God, Drew, I love you. Oh my God, she's taking pictures and all this stuff. And she leaves, and I can see he's kind of like, I can see he's a little annoyed, but he
Mm-hmm.
really was really cool about it with her. And so I asked him, I was like, how do you deal with stuff like that? He's like, I'm probably never gonna see that lady again. And obviously meeting me is a big deal for her. I don't want to ruin this moment for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he has enough about himself to understand the manner that he brings and how people react. But, to me, Wealth Beyond Money retreats, which is what I do, is about
Mm-hmm.
creating that space where people can come in, where somebody, Drew Brees, can come in, and nobody's going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really, really what it comes down to. So, I'm curious your perspective now that, I'm sharing a little bit about my vision for Wealth
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Money retreats. You know, what, from your expert opinion as a curriculum and retreat designer, you know, how do you see what the type of work that you do living inside something like Wealth Beyond Money retreats, where the intention isn't to scale or spectacle, but to create the right room for the right people at the right time? What does that look like for you from your perspective?
Um, I guess there's several different points to that. One kind of going back to what some of the energy that's being brought into the conversation is it's much needed, because
Mm-hmm.
just your story of your friend who he was just trying to have lunch,
Mm-hmm.
however, he chose that he could have been like, lady, I just want to eat my lunch. Like, can you not right now? Just go stand outside, wait for me. I'll go sign an autograph when I'm done. Like he could have
Right.
just been like, ugh. However, he chose, like you said, in that moment to, hey, this means a lot to her. However, by doing that, that takes a lot from him. Like
Mm-hmm.
that uses a lot of his energy. And just imagining doing that over and over and over again throughout your day. And then not just throughout your day, but throughout the years. And so this was when he was in college, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
fast forward to now he's you
He
know,
played he played 20 years in the NFL.
yeah. So I don't know who he is because I don't watch
Right.
football.
Right.
However, anyone else who it knows anything about sports probably knows exactly who he is, could probably pick him out, walking through the airport or whatever.
Right.
And he carries that.
Yep.
And the other thing about a person like that is he has influence. So if he were to get on social media and he were to say, hey guys, let's do something about these tariffs, right? Like people would listen to him. He has that mana, he has that energy. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people in that situation, because they've carried so much, they either start to like not care, they maybe then become the person who would just say, I'm trying to have lunch, go wait outside and I'll sign something, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're over time, sometimes they can be, in a sense, beaten down, um, because they have tried for so long to hold that energy. And for 20 years, that can just be a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
So part of that is it's simply needed for them. Now, to the piece of they have influence, well, imagine if we worked with people who they've been either in that, mm, similar to how we were saying before about how you kind of get stuck in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can also get stuck in the hamster wheel of fame, of
Mm-hmm.
they're just kind of going from the next game, the next movie, they're going from to, and they're not really paying attention to who they are, their needs, or their lives. Not only they're not paying attention to themselves, but they're not paying attention to the world around them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just simply caught in their loop of whatever they're doing, not even really realizing that they have influence. They realize it from the perspective of everybody always wants their attention. Sometimes they don't necessarily realize it from the perspective of they have everyone's attention. So what are
Mm-hmm.
they doing with it?
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, and part of the reason why, if things were to move forward with Darcy or anyone else, part of the thing that I would want to bring in with working from the top down is, if you're working with that person, if you change their lives, if you have them have, like what I was saying about your growth, like from what I've seen from you from these years we've known each other, and you've even put, like you said, in some of our calls, like you put stuff out there, videos and stuff like that, and then you haven't for a while, and people are like, oh yeah, I love your video. You're like, I haven't done anything in forever. What do you mean you love my video? Well,
Right.
of course they love your video because you're you, right? Like, you're someone who has fame, like people know who you are. And so whatever you produce, people are going to just automatically listen to it because they're like, "Ooh, I know that guy. He won a Super Bowl." So
Mm-hmm.
you have that influence whether you want it or not. So imagine working with people who have that influence. You change their lives. They now notice something within themselves or about themselves, and then they want to make a difference. But here's the thing, they can.
Mm-hmm.
So many practitioner students or master prac students, they come up and they say, like, yeah, I have this amazing plan and I want to go out and do this. And then nothing happens. And it's not necessarily, on one hand, yeah, you could say it's them. And on the other hand, it's anyone can make a viral video. Anyone can film something completely stupid and it goes viral.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how annoyed I am with the phrase 6'7".
I don't know what it means. It's like that 6'7" thing has got me to the point where I'm like, I'm officially old. I don't understand this, and I don't care to understand it. It's cool. Say you're 6'7". I don't know.
So I've been the substitute work I've been doing is for fifth graders, and it's constant 6'7", and I'm like, oh, guys, can you focus on something making a difference in your world?
Mhm.
However, it was like a song, and then someone made a meme of it, and that, or whatever video or something, and that went viral, and so now kids, no matter, the kindergartners are saying it, the high schoolers are saying it. It's huge. It's gone nationwide and every kid knows about it. Imagine if that was like a positive message, right?
Yeah, if it if
Imagine.
it if it meant something,
Exactly.
if it meant
Exactly.
something. Yeah, and so to me, just what you're saying, what I'm getting from what you're saying is like creating a container where people who have everyone's attention
Mm-hmm.
can actually get realigned with themselves and bring more positivity, make a bigger difference to whoever's listening. It's, like I've worked with, artists and, rappers,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, had a client, and, he's had a lot of success in music for a lot of years, but his whole motivation for making it big in entertainment was to make life better for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And wondered if, just based on the nature of, hip hop music, if, he was part of the problem, because of some of the energy of it, the
Yeah.
materialism and the misogyny and whatnot. And I emphasize that I didn't think he was part of the problem. I thought that he was speaking the language of his people. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
think, is he was resonating with people. So I don't think it was a problem. But, you know, he's wants to make he wants to make, he still had the same objective he had from when he started as a teenager. Just want to make life better for Black people. But, you know, wants to, make a difference in a different way. So I said, listen, man, who do Black people listen to more than rappers? All you got to do is change what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
They're already listening, and so like that's a lot of what I'm thinking, is being able to host containers where people can reconnect with themselves and adjust the way that they interact with their world, and change the way that they lead.